Now, I'm usually not the type to do videos so soon after the next, but we saw that Ragnar Prime just came out. The skills of Ragnar Prime just came out. After all, my last video just sort of hyping up the Ragnar Prime, I do believe the hype was worth it. I think Ragnar Prime, if you look at his skills actually, which came out, the numbers, very good numbers actually. If you just look at it without expertise, it's 2600 damage factor because it's 2k to 3 targets and then 300 on each extra target. So it's essentially 2600 damage factor to 3 targets. And at expertise is probably what makes it the best. It's 2800. So it goes up to 2200 plus the extra 600 damage factor to each target. So it's 2800 AoE damage to 3 targets, which is very, very high. If you compare that to like Scipio is obviously has a health debuff, but Scipio is only 2000. So the fact that it's much higher than Scipio, 800 damage factor higher than Scipio, it's really, really good. Obviously, Scipio's debuff is very valuable, but the fact that Ragnar won expertise, Raven's Fury is his active skill. So when it's active skill is expertise, it goes up to 2800 damage, which is very, very high. So yeah, this commander looks very good. Looking at the other skills, 40% defense, a very high amount, 40% defense. Actually, Guan doesn't even have defense. He just has attack and march speed. So I think this commander will definitely replace Guan if you're using Guan currently. Guan just has march speed as well as attack. So 40% defense is very, very high. 10% march speed is a little low in my opinion. Even Guan has 15. Wallace has 20. Scipio has 25. So 10% march speed is definitely one of the lowest out of the existing infantry commanders. And then 10% normal attack reduction, which is also decent. Seeing the third skill. This is the third skill. So this is the drain effect. The drain effect is sort of new. You can see here. For the duration of the effect, reduce an enemy's attributes and increase your own by an equal amount. This is something which we haven't seen yet. The drain effect. So you drain 20% attack and you drain 30% march speed. Now, I don't think this is that good. And the reason because the drain effect, you have to be in combat to get these stats. So you can't get this 30% march speed normally. And if you're in a ball, I don't think the drain effect will be that useful. It does have, looks like, no cooldown right now. You can see there's no cooldown on this skill. I'm assuming that'll be changed. This will probably be nerfed. But there's no cooldown on the drain effect. But I don't think this 30% march speed is that impactful if you're in a ball fight. So if you get the 30% march speed, you're just sort of running around a little faster in the ball. But this doesn't really matter that much. When you use march speed the most, when it's most relevant, is when you're like marching to an objective or marching to the ball. Very long march speed situations where you'll need this 30%, but not in like a ball fight scenario. You only get this when you're attacking another enemy troop or you're getting attacked by another enemy troop. So I think this is a little overrated, the drain effect. I think it's good, but it's not that impactful in balls, in my opinion. 30% trigger chance is not that high as well. It's okay, but 30% is like the Horn of Fury proc rate. So it's okay. I'm not that sold on this skill. Fourth skill looks pretty good to me. So the fourth skill just gives 15% skill damage when it's above 70%. This is why it's going to be so good Scipio Prime. 15% skill damage, basically when both the commanders cast their active skills. So it's basically always there. Unless you get silenced. But we're seeing Guan a lot less nowadays. 25% less skill damage. Pretty nice as well. Still, the skill damage is a very prevalent factor in the game. So yeah, very solid skill as well. Only one I'm very disappointed by is the drain effect, in my opinion. The 40% defense is huge, in my opinion. The 15% skill damage bonus is pretty big. This 25% skill damage reduction is also pretty big. And the expertise is probably what sells me the most about this commander. So the expertise is 2800 damage factor to 3 targets. That is very, very high. It also reduces the damage that each target does by 15%. It's similar to Zug, but Zug is obviously a circle and 5 targets. But yeah, this commander looks very, very solid. Like I said, I do think he'll pair very well with Scipio Prime. So my 5 March option is basically solidified. I'm pretty sure Ragnar Prime will fit very nicely into my 5 March as the 2 infantry option. So I'm using in my options Luce Alex and Scipio Ragnar as my 2 infantry. Of course, Ragnar, I'm going to discuss how we get Ragnar in a little bit, but this is my options for 2 infantry. And then 2 cav, you can see my options here, and then 1 archers. The reason I'm doing 1 archer also is, as I mentioned, the march speed is a huge issue for me. Infantry just has more march speed options in their gear as well as their accessories, as well as talents even. So, yeah, it's just the fact that 2 infantry seems a lot more flexible and usable on the field compared to 2 archers. So even for newer players, I would advise that 2 infantry or 2 cav is better to start than going 2 archers. So some configuration like this is what I'd expect most people to do for a 5 march setup. Obviously, you don't have to do Lou Alex. You can do like Wallace Lou. Maybe you don't have William. You can do Huo Belly. There's a lot of configurations you can do that are a little different than mine. But for the most part, you should be using some mashup or a combination of these 10 commanders, which I have here, for your sort of 5 march ideal setup. And this is what I think is the best 5 marches for me personally. 2 infantry, 2 cav, as well as 1 archers. And if you were curious about how you would get Ragnar Prime, it turns out I was a little wrong. So, per VIP support, you can get the Commander Prime Ragnar from the event First Strike. It's only available in the King of All Britain story. So the King of All Britain story is a new KVK mode, which they're introducing in the next patch. Please note that this commander is in this event is a trial version. Trial commander will be the expertise unlocked. You do not need to upgrade him. There are also other events to obtain him in the future which can be used outside the story. So there's a lot which you can sort of take away from this. First of all, it looks like it's only going to be available in the new KVK mode, which is disappointing. But they do say later there are other events to obtain him in the future. Very vague, very vague, not much information given. Like I said, I initially thought that you would be getting a free commander, like in a similar event to the siege commanders which were unlocked. So this is obviously disappointing to me, because I don't want to play a KVK story just to be able to unlock a commander. It looks like they're also giving you the commander just for this KVK with the expertise unlocked, which seems strange, but maybe that's just how it is. And then I'm assuming they give you the free commander for that KVK, expertise unlocked, and after the KVK ends, they take away the expertise, and you just have the free commander. But yeah, that's just how you get him. It looks like you just get him through the new KVK mode, and I'm assuming maybe later on they're going to introduce him in like those events I was talking about in my last video, where they give the 10 gold heads to unlock the commander at the end of 10 floors, like similar like I was saying in my last video, to the events where you unlocked Gaja and Margaret. So I'm assuming he'll probably come in events later like that, or maybe he'll even be added as a Wheel of Fortune commander later on. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed that it looks like Ragnar cannot be unlocked that easily, but just looking at the skills, I'm very excited by this commander. I think this commander will be very strong in the meta. Very good numbers. Like I said, the most exciting thing for me was the 2800 damage factor, as well as the 40% defense. I'm not that excited by the drain. Skill damage and skill damage reduction are both very good. So this commander seems very solid. If I was to advise maybe new players, I would still say probably that your first best bet is doing Luce, though. Luce is probably still the best infantry commander. It's hard to say if Ragnar is better than Scipio. These two commanders do very different things. So we'll have to see when on release how good Ragnar actually is. But it is possible. I think Ragnar could be like a top 5 commander in the current game. Obviously, we have to see the tests and like the field results. But I do think Ragnar will be a meta commander. Definitely one of the top infantry commanders. I would definitely put him in a top 5 March configuration for sure. I'll probably be using him myself when I get him. I'm not sure when I'll get him just based off this information, but hopefully I get him soon so I can use him and give some results for you guys. But yeah, that's all I wanted to discuss. I do think Ragnar will be very good, and hopefully we all get access to him soon so we can use him. And until next time.